So you guys are thinking about buying some land and building a house on it, right? You want to build your dream home, a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 2-story home on 5 acres, 10 acres, 20 acres, which is you and no neighbors. Yeah, you're totally excited, right? Well, there's going to be some things that you have to do before you even put pen to pad of writing down or writing a check for that land. What's the number one thing you got to make sure you can do? Make sure the land perks. And what that means is that you'll hire someone to come out and test the soil, test to see what kind of ground you have to make sure that you can have septic out there, or if not sewer, if there's sewer in the neighborhood or sewer in the area relatively close to the home, that you can tap into it, or you can get what's called a septic system so that you can use the bathroom in the house. And it's going to be something that has to be done in order for you to be able to live on the property. Another thing is you want to check for your own survey. Oftentimes the sellers will provide a survey, and I find as an agent, in my own experience, the sellers tend to go with the least expensive option when it comes to surveys. So it's better to hire someone that's on your behalf to survey the property, to know exactly what it is that you're buying, the amount of acreage, get a topo map to know how the property flows, which way the water goes, if there's a creek nearby that you may not know about, where the boundary lines are, where you can and can't put a fence, things like that. Rely on your own survey. You also want to take a look at all of the zoning and ordinances that are for that property. So with the zoning, you want to make sure you can do what you're trying to do on that land. Just because it's 5 acres, for instance, and you only want to put a 3,000 square foot house, doesn't mean you can. There may be parts of the property that are near woodlands. There may be parts of the property that's near a creek, and you can only build so close to the creek. It could be in floodplain. It could be any number of things. So you need to check the zoning so that you can build what you're trying to build there. You also want to check and see if you can put an RV on the property during the time of construction, because you may want to stay overnight, or you may want to stay at the property during the day while you're waiting on trades to do things, and you want to be in a shelter of some sort. So you want to see if you can park an RV on it, or otherwise a builder's trailer, so that you can work out of that trailer on that property. The bigger the property, the longer it takes to build. I have seen homes take as little as 4 months to get out of raw ground, and I've also seen homes that have taken over 2 years for much larger 14, 15,000 square foot houses. So you want to be able to work on site so that you can meet trades. Otherwise, you're sitting out there all day long waiting in your car without a potty, waiting on your subs to come in and out. Otherwise, you got to use the little Johnny pots they have, which nobody wants to do that. So you want to make sure you can do that as well. You want to make sure that the property has access to water and power and gas and phone line and or maybe cable, if you don't use satellite, so that when you build your house in the middle of nowhere with no neighbors, you do have access to the things that you're going to need to live your life in that property. It's kind of hard to run everything on solar because it can break down. You could have a series of cloudy, rainy days to where you don't get power. So you always want to make sure that you can tap in to the grid if you need it. And again, another thing, you want to check to make sure all of the property that's around the property that you're considering either has the same zoning or a comparable or compatible zoning to what you have. So for instance, if you're on 5 acres of residential land, is the property backed up to commercial? Can the commercial eventually encroach in on your property? Are you backed up to a school? Are you backed up to a factory? Are you backed up to a garbage heap or whatever it might be? Are you backed up to a cemetery? Who are the neighbors around the property in which you're buying, and what is the zoning of their property, right? I always tell people, whenever you buy a piece of land to develop for yourself, save your nickels so that in one day you can buy all of the neighboring land around you, so you have control over what happens. You don't want to be in a situation where you think you're buying somewhere in the middle of nowhere, and in 5-10 years from now, here's someone building a school, here's someone building a fire station, here's someone building a freeway, they want to cut a road in or what have you, and then your life changes. So those are just some tips on buying land to build your future home.